Hey, what's up, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kegges back with you with a fresh cut. There is so much to break down. You may have heard of it. Huge snowstorm and ice storm likely going to ramp up over the next few days. We're going to break all of that down. First, though, we're going to take a look at the next 48 hours and go coast to coast in a minute. Here we go. Post what the weather is doing where you are tuning in from. We're starting on the East Coast. Little guy here giving some rain early in the morning. This is 7 a.m. on Tuesday in New York City. Some snow into Boston, Rhode Island, into Connecticut. Right along the coast, you see the green there. That is rain. This system kind of ramps up. Maybe some snow, rain changing to snow on Nantucket. Then we get an interesting little feature here. Maybe some snow squalls into eastern New York, western Vermont. Some very heavy rain into New York City. This is now going to be at 5 o'clock in the evening on February 21st. That's going to be on Tuesday. Clipper system here. This is not the main deal, but our first round of snow coming through the upper Midwest. That's going to impact your commute home on Tuesday in the Twin Cities. Also towards Green Bay, north of Milwaukee. That's going to work through the northern part of Michigan, also into the UP. Eventually to some flurries into Toronto. Here is the makings of our big guy. You see the heavy rain starting to expand through Ohio. This is now 8 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, the 22nd. More heavy rain right in the nation's midsection. And then we have the snow on the colder side, the starting of our much bigger system. I know that's kind of fast. That's why it's coast to coast in a minute. I want to know if you like that. Post that also in the comments below. That would help me out a great deal. All right, let's get into that bigger system. So we are kind of picking this up right where we left off. This is going to be Wednesday morning, and look at how expansive the snow is. This is going to be one of the calling cards of this system. We have some of that rain that we just took a look at in parts of Texas and Oklahoma. There is the snow developing from South Dakota all the way back into Utah, into eastern Nevada. There is the leftover area of that Clipper system that we just showed you in coast to coast in a minute. This thing really starts to ramp up, though, as we move into Wednesday night. You'll notice some different colors on the map now. We could be expecting an extremely significant ice storm. It's still too early for specifics, but right through central Iowa, right along the Wisconsin-Illinois border, and then in southern Michigan, potentially including Detroit. We're really going to be watching that for you guys as we get into Wednesday night. That's also going to be moving across the northern tier of Pennsylvania into extreme southern New York State. We're going to take this out further, and you see that bright pink. That is a lot of freezing rain sliding through. Meanwhile, we are getting blasted with heavy snow in northwest Iowa into Nebraska, northern tier of Michigan, into the UP of Michigan, through Minnesota and Wisconsin, also for us back here in parts of North Dakota and Montana. This is absolutely a behemoth storm. Northern tier of New England. Again, same system, snowing heavily in New England, stretching all the way back into the Intermountain West. Just crazy. In terms of how much snow, I showed you the 6-inch probabilities in the last video. I wanted to up the ante because I do think this thing is going to drop a ton of snow. This is now the probability to get a foot or more, and where you're seeing that yellow color there show up really from south central Minnesota into Wisconsin, and then again, especially have some reds here in upstate New York, into parts of Maine, that's greater than a 65% chance. That means 65% of the European ensemble members are on board with getting more than a foot of snow. Of course, that's also happening back in the mountains of Wyoming, the mountains of Colorado, and then down the Cascades and Sierra Nevada mountains, also the mountains of Idaho and western Montana. No matter how you slice it, this is going to be a major storm. Closer look here at the potential bullseye of this system, and we're going to have more details and fine-tune an actual snowfall forecast for you in a later video before this gets going, likely on Tuesday. Look at this. These probabilities are so high south of the Twin Cities. We're getting snow in the Twin Cities. This is just the probability of a foot of snow, really from about Rochester north of Madison towards Milwaukee and Green Bay. That's a 60 to 75% shot of those European ensemble members latching on to getting a foot or more of snow. The other part of this is going to be the insane temperature difference across the country. We're talking record heat, like never before seen heat in February. I want to start with that, and then we'll get into the cold that is going to be blasting in behind that system for the upper Midwest, Northern Plains, Intermountain West, for us in the tip-top tier of the country. I want to show you Wednesday because this is when the blowtorch really starts to fire up. This yellow, where the yellow kind of meets the blue here, this is 60-degree temperatures. So we've got 60s kind of sneaking into southwest Pennsylvania, mid-70s in Tennessee. We have the mid-90s. Mid-90s in extreme South Texas, right along the border with Mexico. And then all here in the red, this is going to be low to mid-80s. But wait, the blowtorch has another level. As we get into Thursday, this is the day for parts of the country where all-time high-temperature records could be shattered for the month of February. It has never been this hot in Orlando. The official forecast, 91 degrees. That would break the old record of 90. Again, this is crazy heat. This is scary heat. It's not supposed to be this hot in February. Look at this. We have low to mid-80s in central Tennessee. We have low to mid-70s up into Pittsburgh. We have low to mid-80s, maybe even upper 80s in parts of North Carolina. And the extreme heat of the mid-80s stays in Louisiana, New Orleans. It's going to be a crazy hot Mardi Gras again on Tuesday. Nonetheless, you see the heat there. I call it extreme heat. Obviously, if this was the middle of summer, it wouldn't be extreme. But for February standards, this is crazy. And again, in some places, it's been unprecedented. I will show you why in just a second. First, we're going to get into the cold side of things. And the same time we're having that record heat, we're going to have the brutal cold. So this is now going to be on Wednesday morning. We have temperatures of 15 to 20 degrees below zero right along the northern tier of the country. That expands and intensifies. Here it comes. Our low pressure center is likely out here by this time. And then behind that system, all of that cold comes racing in behind it. There you go. That is widespread 10 to 20 degrees below zero on your Thursday morning. And then it intensifies. Everything above that line is below zero. This is without the wind, by the way. 20 to 30 degrees below zero in that, where that light pink hue is showing up. Remember we were just like in the 70s in Pittsburgh? This is going to be on Friday morning. We're back to the 20s. So that is some real weather whiplash for a lot of people in this area in the Ohio River Valley, because we're going to get the warmth to surge, and then as that storm passes through, we are going to have temperatures crash. I want to show you also, this is specifically for my friends in the Northeast. I want to show you how close, how oh so close we get to shorts weather in Philadelphia, in New York City. Of course, New York City right about there, northern Jersey. That's high temperatures in the 30s and low 40s on Thursday. But look how close the 70s. Of course, Philadelphia might even miss out on that. It's going to be so close, but these are low to mid 70s. We're going to make a run for 80 degrees in Washington, D.C. on Thursday. Just crazy. So I want to show you why it is going to be so warm. This is your typical La Nina pattern on steroids. So we have this dip in the jet stream out west. It's going to be kind of cool and kind of crummy in Southern California over the next several days as well. Don't want to leave you guys out. The weather's going to be kind of nasty for Southern California standards. But we have this big ridge of high pressure anchored over the Southwest Atlantic, Northern Caribbean, even into the Gulf of Mexico. And what that does, it does a couple of things. It forces all of the cold weather north. It also sends all the rain north. So this is not going to be good for an expanding drought situation in the southeast U.S. either. But under these big ridges of high pressure, you get sinking air. When air sinks, it warms and it dries out. So that is one of the reasons why it is going to be so incredibly hot. I mean, hot in general, but hot for February standards especially, all up and down the mid-Atlantic, and then especially right smack dab in the southeast, including Florida, where low to mid-90s are expected. They are forecast to break all-time records in the Sunshine State of Florida. And again, it's going to be extremely hot across the North Gulf Coast as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you love this conversation, please consider subscribing. We would love to have you in this growing weather community. I always love to get your weather reports. So if you have one for me, what the weather is doing, please post that in the comments below. We're going to stay on top of this story, of course, this big storm that's going to cross from coast to coast over the next few days, really ramping up Tuesday night into Wednesday and lasting through the start of the weekend. We're going to stay on top of it. We'll love to get your reports through the way. Please consider subscribing, and we will catch you next time.